They did it so early. It's like,
Hey,
well, you might not. You
I'm
might not
pushing.
have
I'm
to
pushing
choose
the
it.
live just in case. You guys
Okay.
can keep
Good.
talking.
Oh,
We want to talk about hurricanes. Enough of
oh
that.
yeah, well, I'm ready, man.
I'm gonna.
Dive in.
I usually just put starting soon. Hopefully, people can hear us. Because me and Nu will run there's some issues sometimes.
So what do you
Always.
what you use OBS?
I use Streamlabs. Streamlabs
Oh.
OBS, yeah. Streamlabs OBS. Fred uses
See, your
OBS.
OBS is different from mine because you don't have a Mac, do it?
No.
Because the one for Windows has a lot more features.
Does it?
So
Mhm.
would you need to like
moved.
oh my fault.
No, go ahead.
For broadcasting this, what do you put you have to send the feed to through OBS or something? Cause I ain't never used OBS before.
So what I'm doing is literally screen capturing one of the screens. The only problem that I have is when I talk, it doesn't show me. The rest of you, every time one of you guys talk, it bounces. But when I'm talking, it doesn't. So when I talk, if nobody's talking,
click yourself,
I can click myself, yeah, and then it shows up. But if one of you guys talk, then for you guys it starts bouncing, which is fine. I just need to make sure I can keep it together.
Yeah, I gotta.
You the man, Sonny.
I gotta use all that stuff.
Let me know if you need help, man.
Yeah, man.
It takes a little bit of time, get used to it.
Definitely gonna take some time, man. But we'll get it one day because I want to use it because I'm tired of using the webcam for this. Cause I want to use my regular camera for the live streams.
Yeah.
Just for all of that stuff. I got a lot that I want to do, but it's just a matter of just
That's another issue using your DSLR. That's a whole nother issue. I just got a decent webcam.
Yeah, it depends if you've got it depends on your video card. You gotta use a Cam Link adapter to get it to work right. So there's ways to do it. You just gotta have the right stuff. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I need to get a new computer too. So that's
Same.
yeah, man.
I think me and you, Sonny, we have the same webcam because I think I saw on Instagram. I think you posted or something. That's what I use too. So
Yeah.
I got to see from Logitech.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Same three
So
of them.
that's the one. That's the one to use.
Let me check.
Let me see if people can hear us.
Whatever, I'll check it later.
You should be able to hear us in the background.
Oh, how did you do it last week? Because last week it sounded like there was like a little bit of an echo.
Yeah, so what happened is last week I had 2 feeds going at the same time. So I needed to mute my mic because Skype is also bringing the audio feed in. So once I took that out, it worked. I always forget. I know, man.
I wish we played Thursday.
Okay, guys. Hopefully. Okay, so I'm gonna be bouncing in and out, because my feed is the only one doing this, but it's okay. So we have the special collab today. All the guys here, everybody that you love is here. So I'm gonna let them get started introducing themselves. Let's start with Mr. Birdland BS itself.
What's going on, guys? It's Fred from Birdland BS. Appreciate you inviting me out to the collab as always. Excited for this season to get started and excited to work with all you guys.
Okay, then Mr. Raven.
Team Keep It Clean, what's going on, man? Appreciate Sonny for putting this whole thing together. Having us 5 getting ready to make this happen. I have no idea what we're getting ready to talk about, but I know it's gonna be fun.
Noobs.
What up, guys? Shout out to Sonny for keeping the ship together, man. He's running it today, so we'll see how it goes. But usually it goes well with Sonny, man. You guys should have faith in him, man. But yeah, let's have some fun.
All right.
I don't know about faith, but go ahead, Coach.
What's up, YouTube? This is Coach Evans of Sip the Talent Films, getting ready for Ravens Roundup Season 2. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate being here.
And yeah, so guys, as you can see, I'm struggling with this thing, but that's fine. So what we're gonna do is, guys, the season's about to start. We all hype. All of us are hype. Be ready. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was I want to see what is your guys' opinion about this non-tanking of Miami and all the trades going down, and what do you think is gonna be? You know, how do you see that game 1 going?
I'll step in first. I originally I always thought the Ravens were gonna win, because it's just something about Miami that's different when they play Miami, man. I don't know if Harbaugh has either a beef with Miami or maybe he just loves Miami so much that he just feels the urge to need to beat them up. But I before I thought the Ravens were gonna win. And with Fitzpatrick, it kind of it worried me because you know how good Fitzpatrick is at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
But then just seeing them get rid of Tunzel, get rid of Steele, get rid of Kiko, they weren't projected to be a really good team. And of course, projections could always go wrong. But to see them be willing to do that and get rid of those key players, I don't see it being close anymore. I think that the Ravens really handle business. As far as score prediction, I don't know, but I think Ravens gonna take care of business in a major way, and it's gonna be bad. I think it's gonna be ugly, but for the Ravens, at least.
I'm right there with you. I kind of got the same sense. You know, you never know what Ryan Fitzpatrick you're going to get. He's so bipolar as to either he's throwing for 350 yards or he's throwing 4 interceptions. You just never know. But took away one of his biggest weapons on the wide receiver with Kenny Stills going to the Texans. Look, the Dolphins are obviously in rebuild mode. They're going to have a ton of cap money going into next year. They've got a ton of draft picks now going into next year. So I think the word tanking might not be appropriate, but this is going to be a pretty bad year for the Dolphins. I think this is just a tune-up game for the Ravens going into week 2. I think the Ravens win this pretty handedly.
3 words: tanking for Tua. Sure.
So you think it's gonna be that bad, Coach?
Yes.
Okay.
Straight up.
How about you, noobs?
All right, so the Ravens are 1-7, or sorry, the Dolphins are 1-7 against the Ravens since 2008. The only loss was against the Matt Schaub-led Ravens. I'm sure everybody remembers that when just all the Ravens players died. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a type of game like we opened the season last year, like a 47-3. I do think it's gonna be ugly. I just think we outclassed them as a team, just as a whole, man. I just don't see it being close. And I mean, I don't like to underestimate my opponents, but yeah, it's gonna be ugly.
I think if we lose to the Dolphins, we have issues.
Oh yeah.
I think the last 2 seasons we started killing it on the opener, and last year we took it to the Bills, and I'm expecting us to take it to the Dolphins. The reality is with the Dolphins right now, the O-line right now is pretty soft, and our pass rushes that struggle or hasn't produced as much to the preseason. I'm expecting this game almost to be a confidence boost. It was like a preseason game 5 is how I'm watching this.
Oh,
This Dolphins team, I thought before this started, people were talking the Dolphins probably the worst team in the league. And then they went and next year they have capital on trades, and then they have money, so they can probably be better next year. But for this year, especially, we have been really good. The openers, Harbaugh will have them focus. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a dub. Now, I want to put, and I know in Raven you talk about this a little bit, but somebody already started talking, I think it was Marcus, about Melvin Gordon to the Ravens. What is your guys' thought about Melvin Gordon to the Ravens?
No. And for a lot of reasons. It's not because of his productivity, but one of the issues that Melvin Gordon has is holding on to the football, and that's one of John Harbaugh's biggest I guess, pet peeves is he doesn't like guys that can't hang on to the football. And then secondly, what that would do to the salary cap. Thirdly, the stable of running backs that we have right now. I'm pretty confident in all the guys that we have. I'm confident in Ingram. I'm confident in Hill, and I'm confident in Edwards. I don't think we need Gordon. I don't think the value is there to add a piece like him. It doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, I don't think his cost would be effective for the team.
Right.
For the production he's going to give us. I think we can get that production from the three guys that we have. And even if something happens to one of those, I'm a huge fan of DeLance coming off the practice squad.
That's your boy.
Yeah, Turner the burner.
How about you, Noobs?
Yeah, I mean, I was never a big fan of the whole Melvin Gordon to Ravens talk. Yeah, just like you guys, the points you guys said, it would just cost too much, and we've showed we haven't had the same running back since Ray Rice. Like every year we switch running backs, and it's either because they fall off or we just end up finding a new running back that does what he does. And I honestly don't think running backs are that important in today's NFL. I'm sorry to say.
How about you, Raven? I know you have a video on it.
No, yeah, I definitely think with Melvin Gordon, he kind of reminds me of Gerald McCoy, where he definitely wouldn't be a necessity. He'd be a luxury if anything, but he's not. If we didn't get a Melvin Gordon, then we're not missing anything. I'm not the biggest Melvin Gordon fan. I personally don't think he's really all that. He's not a bad running back, but he is not a guy that say for instance, if this was a rumor about like Ezekiel Elliott or something like that, or Saquon Barkley or somebody like that, or I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head, but somebody like that, then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, Ravens do it. But it's just, I don't think it would be worth it because we would have to acquire him. And so we would I obviously have to give up something to get him. But then it's not even a guarantee that he would be with us for the long haul because he may not re-sign with us.
Right.
So I just rather Ingram, Gus, and Justice Hill, and like Coach said, Turner the burner. If need be, he's ready for that call up, man. So it would be a no for me.
Yeah, I would say that biggest thing for me with Melvin is he is a good back. Like most of you guys said, he's not elite, but he's pretty good. I would say he's probably on the second tier of running backs. Trading for him, paying him, and his production, he's not gonna be your bell cow. You had Ingram here, and if you still had Justice Hill here, so you basically have to take good players that are very, very cheap. Ingram is a little bit more expensive. You just paid him, but the other two between Gus Edwards and Hill, they're very cheap. So you basically have to bring them down and barely play them because if you're gonna pay Melvin and Ingram, basically you're taking Gus and Hill out of your rotation. Yeah, I don't think it was worth it, or I don't think it will be worth it. And McCoy for me made a little bit more sense because McCoy can actually be on the field more in the rotation of the D-line that is always rotating. But on the other side, the running back, I don't know why us in the Ravens community, every time they see a big name, especially a running back, we are looking for it, right? Why we want to
everybody.
I know.
Right.
I know. It's like I don't get it. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Clowney trade, because that was another guy that we were hearing like, oh, for the Ravens, bring Clowney, bring Clowney. So when the trade got executed, I actually thought, okay, this trade should have been a trade that we could have made. They gave up a third-round pick and two average guys, one of them being cut. And the reality is, if you lose Clowney next year, you're probably going to get that third back. Not as close as the third you traded, but still. So I really didn't get it from the Houston side, why they traded him. Because probably he was willing to play under that 1-year deal. I mean, that's all he did with Seattle. He signed 1 year and said, you don't franchise me again next year. So he's a free agent the following year. So, but I want to know your thoughts. Anyone want to take the floor?
I would have loved to have Clowney, but not at the price he wanted, because it probably would have had to be a sign and trade for us to keep him, because I don't think the cost would have did a 1-year rental. And so that money that we would have put into him probably could have been 2 guys that can equal up their production. I'm not big on paying top tier money unless he's really a top tier guy. And the fact that he's been hurt a bunch of his career, I wouldn't, as a business person, I wouldn't take a chance on him.
Well, I agree with that, but I feel like this, now that we see the trade, this rental makes sense because, again, next year you lose him, somebody sign him to a big deal. That's a third round compensatory pick. That's all they traded for him.
But that might work for that. When I say it like that, because I forget about the compensatory part of it. I just think about the 1-year rental and what we're giving up, and I just forget that if we lose him, we get that pick back. So that part just it's kind of in the background for me because I'm not in the compensatory lingo yet. I just know we get a bunch of them. So that's where I was with it. But if we would have cost nothing, so we should have made a run at it because he would have helped because we need edge guys bad.
That's true. But you also got to think about who he wanted to play with. I don't think the Ravens were one of his teams that he wanted to play with. He didn't mention them at all. So
who did he mention?
The Eagles. I think he mentioned the Seahawks, and I forgot who else.
Okay. Well, hey, that limits your team right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
At the end of the day, I mean, trading draft picks, whether you're getting it back or not, at the end of the day, is not something that the Ravens have always done. And to your point, you said like they did end up trading a couple players away in that deal on top of the draft pick. Who would those guys would have been? And I mean, Clowney, it's a good name, but let's not forget this guy's never had double-digit sacks in his career either, and he's also had the injury history. So, not to say that he wouldn't have added to this team because he absolutely would have, and that's one of our weaknesses for sure as a whole. But I just don't know. The trade proposal would have had to been right outside of just the draft pick. Players wise, who else would they have been giving up to make that deal for the Ravens to really have considered it?
Yeah, I would have been down if they would have got Jadeveon Clowney. And I before I thought that the Ravens wouldn't have been able to afford Jadeveon Clowney since he had a $15 million price tag. But come to find out after the trade that Houston, they actually paid either paid 7 or 8 mil of his price tag. So Seattle was on the hook for the other 7 or 8 mil of that 15 mil. So Seattle didn't even have to pay the whole thing. So that made him that much more affordable. And like Sonny did say, worst case scenario, if it's a 1-year rental, then okay, you get the comp pick back the next year after somebody signs them to a big deal. Then that's only if you aren't able to reach a big deal with him. Because there's a possibility that the Ravens could have reached a big deal with him if he would have looked good or looked as advertised. But one thing with Jadeveon Clowney, I think that this, and I've been a little guilty of it myself too, but one thing I think about this whole Jadeveon Clowney fiasco, I think it sort of overrated him a little bit. Because Jadeveon Clowney is cool. He's not bad, but he hasn't been this consistently dominant player like you would think he was by how much he's been getting talked about. And I think the same thing happened with Ezekiel Ansah a couple months ago. Ezekiel Ansah, nobody was talking about him, but he was just the hottest name out at the time. So it's like, okay, yeah, now all of a sudden everybody wanted him. Same thing happened with Gerald McCoy a couple months ago, and everybody wanted him for that brief period of time. These guys they end up being the only names out there on the market at the time. So then teams start clamoring for them and stuff, and they sort of get a little overrated. But I wouldn't have mind us getting either one of the three.
Yeah, especially.
I think Clowney's still living on that college sack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
college hit rather.
That hit still is engraved in some people's mind, right? I think Clowney is good. He's better than the guys. At least he has shown on the NFL level better ability of the guys that we currently have. I'm not saying that our guys cannot be better. Clowney almost looked like he already plateaued, right? Even though he's 26, his injury history concerns me. But in the last 3 years, I think he has missed 4 games, so it's not bad. So we'll see. I mean, I would have, like you already said, I would have loved him, especially with our question marks. But
also think about who he's been surrounded with, his whole career.
That's
You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true. He's been with JJ,
And even then, he still can't get double-digit sacks. So,
and let's not forget, the Ravens' defense hasn't always been about the guy; it's been more about scheme.
Yeah.
Right. And so far, what we've seen in preseason has been about as vanilla a scheme as possible. So there's still some tricks in the bag that Wink's got in his hands. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think we're underestimating some of the guys that we do have on our roster and maybe overvaluating how somebody else would affect this team.
I'll be willing to say that Judon has more sacks than Clowney this year.
Very well could.
Okay.
I mean,
I like it.
Judon needs to start playing as he wants to get paid. This dude.
You don't think he's going to do that?
No, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. But last year I was expecting more from him, and I thought he had like an average year. I'm hoping this year, if he's the alpha at the pass rushing, right? McPhee's there to help him out, but I think the team looks at him like you're the leader. I don't think Judon's be here next year, to be honest. Because if he has 8 sacks, now you know what is the going price. Look at Darius Smith. I don't think Judon's worth that.
Right.
So anyway, somebody asked about Trace McSorley. That if you guys think now that he made the team, is he your QB2? Who wants to take this?
Oh, they put QB2? I thought they just said, is he your QB?
No.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that QB. I didn't see the 2. I just saw, is he your QB? I was like, oh, here we go again.
No, they're basically saying, is he better than RG3? Will you take him over RG3 at this point?
I mean, would you really be comfortable with if the game is on the line? Oh, if it's on the line or not. If something happens to Lamar, Trace stepping in against the starters, not against preseason second and third stringers. And not to take anything away from Trace, because each week he looked better and better and better. But you still got to keep that into account. Is he QB2? No, I don't think so. Because I think the Ravens they love guys that have experience on a team. So no, Trace is still 3, a nice little 3 to have, and a promising 3. But I'll still keep him at number 3.
I'm right there with you. I think Trace has made leaps and bounds improvements on where he was early on in training camp to where he finished up the preseason. Because I'll be honest, I went to a bunch of those training camp practices, and from what I saw, I didn't think he was going to make it as a quarterback in this league. That I really thought if the Ravens were going to keep him on this roster, it was just to be that gadget type player, really not as a QB. But he made huge improvements and huge strides, but kind of compartmentalize that. You got to remember it's a small sample size, and it was mainly against some of the other teams' 2s and 3s, because in those latter parts of the year or latter parts of the preseason, a lot of teams weren't playing their regulars, they weren't playing their starters, neither were the Ravens. So you got to kind of temper expectations with that and realize that RG3, in my opinion, is probably a top 3 number 2 quarterback in this league. So for Trace to make that jump and replace RG3 right now, I think it's too early to kind of give him that kind of praise.
I had a back and forth on Twitter a while ago saying that RG3 was like game ready the couple times he came in, and the guy threw a stat at me that really blew my mind, because he didn't complete a lot of passes, but I know he got thrown in bad situations. But every time he got in, he still looked like he was prepared. He knew what to do. The results probably weren't there, but he didn't look deer in the headlightish. And as far as Trace, I was impressed with what he did as a quarterback. I don't think he's a gadget guy. I don't think he's big enough to be the gadget guy that they were trying to compare him to. But I definitely like what I saw out of him as a pocket passer and just commanding the team. Even though it was second and third stringers, I like what I saw. He looked like a quarterback, just a short quarterback, but a quarterback.
Don't underestimate what he can be as a gadget player, though, because we haven't had a chance to see that, because he was forced into playing more quarterback role because of the injury to RG3. Right. But I think they've got some tricks up their sleeves. Again, they don't traditionally carry 3 quarterbacks on a roster, so they're carrying him for a reason, and it's definitely going to be used outside of just a quarterback insurance policy.
Gotcha. I'm excited to see what they got then.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I don't know how many gadgets play they're gonna make with Trace, because the dude is small. Like when you see him in person, damn, he's small. But I think QB3 is where he's supposed to be right now. He reminds me a lot of Tyrod Taylor when he came as a rookie. They both have their flaws. The biggest problem with Trace that I have, and this is what I wouldn't trust him right now in game situation, is he stares at the receiver. Like literally, he snaps the ball. He doesn't go to many progressions. He goes and looks where he's gonna throw, and that's not good. That's how you get picks. And I guess second and third stringers, yeah, he throw a couple, but I guess a first team defense, those couple picks will be consistent picks. Now, I like the promises. I like how the growth he had, and I think that's why they couldn't put him in the practice squad, because he showed flashes. And a team that might be tanking, a team that might just looking for QBs for the future, might have grabbed them and put him in the roster for now and see if he was anything. And I think that's why the Ravens probably would have loved him to be in the practice squad, but they couldn't put him in the practice squad because he probably would have got snatched by somebody and had him as a QB2 or maybe as a QB3, because some teams do carry QB3. I know it's not typical for the Ravens, but some teams do.
Yeah, so Trace, I like Trace. I was actually very impressed with what he did in preseason, especially for where we got him. But for the fact that he's not our quarterback too, because even RG3, if you look at RG3, I think he's a better thrower of the football than even Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you guys disagree with me, but I think he's a better thrower. And so that alone, if you want to trust somebody, am I going to go with Trace or RG3? I'm definitely going to go with RG3, because I know for a fact he would be able to, if we have a lead, I would trust RG3 to keep that lead. Right. Trace, I don't know. It's a little bit shakier. But, of course, RG3 is not in our future plans as a quarterback, which is why we have Lamar starting, and he's just such an explosive runner, much better than RG3. So, but, yeah, I don't even think that's a debate.
Exactly. I agree. Okay, so some other questions that I see here about the receivers. Jaleel Scott or Chris Moore. But so the reality is, more than Jaleel Scott or Chris Moore, is what do you guys think about this receiving core? Where do you guys see it? Who do you guys think is going to be the alpha on the receiving core? Not the tight ends, because I think all we can agree the tight ends are probably going to drive this catching attack. But from the receiver side, you guys expect big things from Hollywood,
Chris Moore,
Boy Kings, Chris Moore. That's what Chips will tell you. So
I think you'll see Willie Snead end up being the security blanket of the group. I think Miles Boykin might be the surprise big play receiver over Hollywood, and that'll just be early on in the year, just because of the matchup and the size and the speed that he has. I think it was smart taking a guy like Antoine Wesley and putting him on the practice squad, because I think he can kind of still contribute to this roster down the road. And, I'm actually pretty content with the shakedown of this roster as far as wide receivers go. I think that it's a good mix of guys that can play inside, guys that can play outside. I do think Jaleel Scott's another guy that made huge leaps from where he was last year to this year. I'm excited with what we got.
Yeah, I think this year at the wide receiver position, a lot of question marks, because it's just a lot of stuff that we don't know, but we're gonna find out during this season. But I do like the fact that they really went younger. They really went younger, and I was after he started making a couple of plays in the preseason, I don't want to say worried that Michael Floyd might make it, but I thought that Michael Floyd may make the roster. But Derek DeCosta and company, they said no, and they cut him. And they like really young at the wide receiver position. But I like that, because it's the exact opposite of what we've been doing for so long. Right. Getting these older guys who are on the back end of their careers. Now we got dudes who not even in their prime yet. So they can grow with Lamar. Lamar can grow with them. They can build that chemistry and build that rapport. And they're going to have some times where they struggle and whatnot. Yeah. They're going to have some times where they don't know how to beat certain coverages or whatnot. And it's going to be a process. But I'm appreciative that the Ravens have chosen to go through the process now instead of doing what they've been doing for so long at receiver.
It's from old and slow to young and fast.
I have a question. Any of those receivers on the back end of their career panned out other than Anquan Bolden?
Steve Smith, I will say.
Steve Smith.
1 year though.
Oh yeah.
But all other guys, no.
No. I
Oh,
mean,
Mason.
Mason way back. But lately,
Mike Wallace was okay. He
Who?
wasn't. Mike Wallace.
He
was okay.
Right.
See,
I just feel like the approach at wide receiver has basically just been rinse and repeat for year after year
Yeah.
after year. So to Ingraven's point, man, you couldn't have hit the nail on the head any harder. I think the change in the youth and the shiftment in the type of receivers that we went after this year is going to bring all types of excitement to this offense. It's going to be a totally different looking offense than what we're used to seeing.
Yes.
but I think to Coach point is we brought these guys almost to be the number ones, and they would have been a good second or third option, but definitely not number ones. Even Steve Smith, because Bolden, we still got him like as he was in his prime, and he was here for a while. But even Steve Smith or even Mason, they would have been great as a number 2, but we brought them here almost to be the number 1 because we didn't have anybody else.
Let me ask you this, and I'm asking this to everybody here. Do you guys think that there's too much emphasis on the word number 1 wide receiver if you've got a good group of wide receivers? I mean, for me, in an offense like this, if you're spreading the ball around, who cares if you have that number 1 dominant wide receiver if you've got a good group that works from the outside in?
I agree with you, and I hate to use fantasy football as an analogy, but I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, if you really want to win at fantasy football, don't have any Ravens on your team. and the reason I say that is because we got a good group of running backs, we got a good group of receivers, well, a decent group of receivers, no number 1, so to speak, and we got good tight ends. So at any week, somebody different is going to have a big game,
Right?
And in fantasy purposes, that's not good for you. So I like the fact that we have. What's the word I'm looking for? Parity on the team. You don't have this one guy that you have to game plan for, and it really helps. And I take it back to what I do in my day job. If I got 3 or 4 guys that can catch the ball, I know each week somebody's different gonna get off.
Right.
Because the defense gonna watch tape and they're gonna try to stop this dude, and so then the next dude can go off. Or if they gear up to try to stop the pass, we can run the ball. So having a good group and having an entire offense is a lot better than having a number 1 guy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So
I
go ahead, Noob.
Oh, go ahead, Sonny. Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say I really like the group of receivers. I mean, I know they're unproven, but you have all these different skill sets, right? You have Hollywood Brown, who's just gonna take the top off the defenses. You have to respect his speed, even if I'm a little bit concerned about his hands, but we can talk about that later. Miles Boykin gonna be making these contested catches, gonna be moving the chains. You have a Seth Roberts and a Chris Moore, kind of similar. They'll be doing, probably be in the slot, Willie Snead, those types of receivers. Then you have a Jaleel Scott we can stick in the red zone. It's a pretty good group. Like you said, it's like 6 receivers makes 1 elite receiver.
Right.
That's pretty much what we got.
Right.
So I would say I prefer the group. To be honest, on the offensive side specifically, you want that mentality that is, I have a bunch of guys, they're good and they can make plays. And the best scenario is, yes, you don't have the number 1. Because if you have a number 1 and then a bunch of C players, then teams can scheme you out of that number 1. But when you have players around that can make plays, maybe you don't have that Julio or Hopkins, that's fine because all you guys can make plays. So if your quarterback distributes the ball, how are you going to game plan? It's hard to game plan against that. So yes, I agree with Fred. Now, I would say for the little things that we saw from Hollywood Brown, although I don't want him in the punt return, the guy looks smooth. I don't know what was your guys' thought about Hollywood Brown, but the little time that he was there in that 3rd preseason game, the dude, when he was cutting, everything looked effortless. But
He impressed me. Yeah.
What is your guys'
Impressed
thought?
me, I would say. Well, I'll jump in first because I was a big Hollywood Brown hater before we drafted him, as I'm sure some of you guys know. Sonny, for sure.
Yep.
Somebody just sent me an email about that today too.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, I was definitely impressed. He didn't do much in the preseason, but the few things that he did do, I was surprised with the catches that he made. That like he made that one hand. It was like a 2 or 3 yard gain, but it was a very impressive catch. He used like one hand to get out of bounds. He was actually, his routes were pretty good. Like I said, I was actually pleasantly surprised by Hollywood Brown, so I'm hoping he can continue with that development for sure.
Agreed. I think he showed more that he's a complete receiver than just the guy that can take the top off the defense. And that was my biggest concern was, is this guy just going to be a burner who Lamar can't get the ball down the field fast enough to, and, you know, it's not going to really do us any good. But the guy showed his ability to be shifty, be a smart route runner, good body control, you know, his hands, it's still early on. He's got to, you know, work through some things with that. But I really liked what I saw out of him in the little bit that he did play.
The funny thing about that is, out of the guy during the draft time, we all talked about different receivers we want on the team, and it was, you know, a debate between Hakeem Butler, Hollywood, N'Keal Harry, and somebody else. And it's crazy because Hollywood was hurt at the time, and now he's the only one that's healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
He's the only
exactly
one that's healthy.
with the email. They said Joe Newbo complained about taking Hollywood. Fair enough. Now Metcalf is hurt. N'Keal Harry's on injury reserve. Bottom line, receivers take time to develop. So they didn't really have a good point. I see what they were going at, but they didn't make the point clear. But I think Coach made the point clear that for that I don't even think it was anything like it just happened. Yeah, Hollywood was hurt earlier, but now he's healthy. But then those guys, they end up getting hurt now, so they missing time. And then who was your guy again? Who's on injury reserve?
N'Keal Harry?
Yeah.
No,
Harry.
Newbold guy.
Oh, Butler.
Yeah, there we go.
That's mine and Coach's guy too, Coach.
I was a big fan of Butler now.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. Ravens just happen to be on the right side of the stick with that. Thank goodness. Yeah. Especially with how they handle it. I'm super glad how they handle it. Real quick, what was your concern with Hollywood's hands? Was it?
Oh, you're asking me?
College or stuff?
It was partly from college, yes. And then, honestly, I wasn't too concerned when I saw him dropping the punts because I just didn't think he was going to be a returner for us. That didn't concern me as much as a lot of people thought, probably. But yeah, in college, and I always bring it up, and people always are like, "Oh my God, he was hurt. Why do you have to bring that game up?" But it was against Alabama. He did not catch a single ball, literally. He dropped everything, even a wide open flat. And that was when I saw that game, I was on him. But of course, now that we drafted him, I'm a little bit back in on him, and I do have hope. So,
Joe, take about 10 to 15 minutes. Go watch my video.
Okay, fair enough.
Take about 10 or 15, my draft video on Hollywood.
Yeah.
Anything you would want a receiver to do, he can do it.
Yeah.
And granted, he was hurt in that game, and he tried to fight through it. He shouldn't have played at all.
Right.
So, you know, you worried about your foot, and then you got the Terminators, 12 Terminators bearing down on you. So
that's true.
To drop some balls too.
Good point.
But he can do it all. Now, know if his body will hold up, but he can do it all.
Yeah,
he
that was my concern.
Everything.
My concern with Hollywood was that can he his frame, body type, can he sustain the pounding on the NFL game? And a lot of people ask me like, hey, so what do you want to see on Hollywood's game 3 when, you know, in the preseason? I said, I want to see him get hit, and I want to see how he reacts from that getting hit, right? Mm-hmm. And when he got swallowed in that jet sweep by the outside linebacker, and he just stood up and shake it off, I was like, oh no, he's ready. Because that big boy, that outside linebacker, just swallowed him, and he just stood up like nothing. He's ready.
Oh yeah, the Eagles player,
yeah. He just like stood up. And now for me, the big pleasant surprise has been Boykins. Like I saw from Boykins a couple of things watching his tape because me and Nuwa was doing in the NF podcast. But I wasn't expecting what I have been seeing from Boykins. Like from camp, we hear a lot of things from camp, and then preseason came and he has put it together. So I want to know what you guys thought about Boykins.
home run of the draft so far. I mean, this kid, he's shown everything. He's shown the size, the speed, the athleticism. The one knock on him was his physicality. Was he going to be able to be physical enough, as big as he is? He should be. But I've seen, flashes of that in the preseason. I've been extremely happy with what he's done. Literally from day one, when they were practicing in shorts and shirts to preseason week 4. He's been the best wide receiver on the field.
Yeah, overall with Miles Boykin, I've been more impressed than not. The biggest thing that I just want to see from him, and I think hopefully it's just that it's nerves, because he had the drops. The drops is something that he has struggled with in the preseason games that he played in. Now he did make some nice plays too, but just dropping those simple catches, dropping the easy stuff, and hopefully it was just him getting the nerves out, since those are his first NFL games. This is his career. This is his new career. He's in a new atmosphere. It's not college anymore, even though the college atmosphere probably look crazy to NFL, but still, he's been impressive so far. So I'm excited to see him. I would love to see some different packages with him and Jaleel Scott out there at the same time. I'm excited, man. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, Miles Boykin, he more impressive than that, man.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of his when we drafted him, and partly it was that because I couldn't find the tape I felt like I needed to evaluate him. So, and I have this personal hatred for Notre Dame anyway. So anybody that that kind of went from there, because I felt the same way about was it Stanley? A couple years ago.
Yeah.
But he's proved me wrong, and I hope Jaleel can do the same. I mean, not Jaleel. I hope Boykins do the same thing. But I'm impressed with what I saw so far, and I'm not, those drops he had in that game don't concern me. I agree with Raven. Your first time getting NFL snaps and all those people, and because if you catch the ball, you eat. If you don't catch it, you go home. That's a big pressure.
Oh, that's real, right there.
That's a big pressure. And so settle in, and he made the team now, and just get better every week.
Yep.
I would say it's fun, right? Because what was the last time, I really can't remember, that we had young receivers and you're like, oh my God, they're going to grow in the Ravens organization and we're going to develop, and they already show flashes that they can be good. And more than one. Sometimes, we drafted this guy high and now everybody's high because we drafted that guy. But I can't remember when we had two extremely young, and Snead is 26, 27?
No, he's not 27. He's 25, I think.
25. So you had Snead that is young, two rookies, two tight ends. One is 26, right? I think it's as Hurst.
Yeah.
And then Andrews is in his second year, very young. You have this core of young guys. They're fast. And the other thing that I love about our receivers, I don't know if you guys agree, they are all a little bit different. Even the tight ends, like Andrews and Hurst, are very different from one another. But the receivers, from Hollywood to Boykins to Jaleel Scott, they're all different. They all are unique. They all can do certain things. And I love that, right? Because it brings you a lot of layers, a lot of things you can do about with this offense. So I'm very excited with the receiving core.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So one other thing, or, continuing the conversation, is the defense. I have been almost shocked the disrespect that the Ravens defense is getting. I get why the offense around the league is not getting the respect. Lamar last year wasn't consistent on the passing attack. Receivers are rookies and they're very young, so I can see all the concerns. But on the defensive side, we have more veterans. Top 3 defense last year, or first overall, I think it was. So I'm surprised about the amount of disrespect. I mean, I see us not even in the top 10 in some people's rankings. So what is your thoughts about the defense? Are you guys concerned? What do you guys think this defense is going to do this year?
I think with the defense not having everybody's attention like they normally do, I think a big reason of that is because a lot of people are on the outside looking in. So they don't know, and it's to no fault of their own because they can't study and analyze every single NFL team in detail like that. But with the Ravens, what a lot of people do, and of course I'm sure all 5 of us have had this conversation with multiple people this year. Oh man, what are you guys' defense gonna do this year? You guys lost C.J. Mosley, you lost Terrell Suggs. Oh, who was that pass rusher guy that you lost to? When they speak about Darius Smith, because they don't really know who that is.
Right.
And with the Ravens having lost those guys, a lot of people feel like, oh yeah, y'all gonna fall off. But little do they know, these same conversations were had when Ray Lewis and Ed Reed were going too. And it's just a cycle that the Ravens go through, and really every team goes through, but especially the Ravens, they lose guys and then they have other guys make up for it. Especially at the linebacker position, which also has a lot of questions there too, just like the wide receiver position. The Ravens are a lot younger, but they were still young with CJ Mosley too, but they have a lot more inexperience. But with the Ravens, I still think the defense is going to be good. And with linebacker, I'm not concerned, especially at that position, because that's what Ravens do. They know how to replace linebackers like no other team. Because for them to have not had a huge drop off at the linebacker position after Ray Lewis, to go from Ray Lewis to like a Darryl Smith, a quick little band-aid there, then to go from Darryl Smith to CJ Mosley. And yeah, he had his coverage issues and whatnot, but he was still a really good linebacker overall. Peanut, he could just be next in line, hopefully. But that's not a concern of mine. So I think the defense is going to be just fine. Of course, the secondary is still the secondary because they got just it's a beautiful thing that we got in the secondary. Sucks what happened to Tavon Young, and sucks that his season is over. But I definitely think the Ravens got enough to make up for it and sort of soften the blow. So I think the defense is going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine too because what we lost in pass rush, I think we're better on the back end now. With even with the loss of Tavon, I think we're better on the back end. And Warren Sapp used to always say the front end and the back end work together. Mm-hmm. And when you have a good defense, that generally, is the case because those guys can cover. Normally, you cover a guy 3 to 4 seconds, and with the guys we got, maybe we can do 4 to 5, and that will help the pass rush get home. And we're just gonna have to be creative with those blitzes, though. Those linebackers gonna have to blitz, and so we'll be susceptible to maybe some short, over the middle type things. But then, you got Jefferson back there, kind of knocking people out. So it's ways to get pressure on it, and because we have good corners, we can take those chances. But it's not gonna work every time, so we don't need to think that every time we blitz, it's gonna get home. It's a chess match between the OC and the DC, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But we have the pieces to have a good defense. Maybe not top 2 or 3, but definitely top 10 and can compete and keep us in games.
Good point, see.
Yo, we got our buddy, a Cincy Bengals fan.
I see it.
I love those guys. I love these guys.
The Bungles?
Can I handle them? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So what do you think, Noobs, about the defense? Because me and you have talked about this.
I think we're going to be just fine. I get it. Like Ingraven mentioned, if you're looking at it like from an outsider's perspective, yes, okay, you did lose your middle linebacker. You're starting Mike linebacker. And a lot of people saw CJ Mosley as this elite linebacker, which I'm a big fan of CJ Mosley, but of course we know his deficiencies as in man coverage, right? But then you see, oh, they lost their leading sack artists, I guess you can call them, and Terrell Suggs and Zadarius Smith. And then, oh, they lost Eric Weddle, who's a great leader. But, I mean, I guess they added Earl Thomas, but he's coming off an injury, so he's not going to be as good. So it's just all these things, that they want to bring in. And I get it. If you're an outsider, but if you watch this team, that Peanut, I would argue that Peanut was the better linebacker towards the end of the season than CJ Mosley.
Yes.
So I think he's going to be great. I do have kind of some concerns about them being so young, like Kenny Young and Chris Board. We'll have to see how they do. I do have faith in them, though. But, yeah, I mean, I think the defense is going to be just fine. We're always, we're just pumping out guys, man. We're like a factory for defense.
Fred, any thoughts?
No, I mean, yeah, I think you guys all hit the nails on the head. Look, this team is built through the middle. The one question mark was linebacker, but I do think that, like you all said, being here and seeing it first and, foremost, I think we all are high on Peanut. I think we got the youth, we've got the speed, the athleticism there at inside linebacker. I'd like this kid Alaka as well. He was a guy that I thought might be the one piece of the undrafted free agents that makes the roster. He's a sound tackler. He's a project. He's going to take some time to really kind of, come into his own. But I like what we have at inside linebacker, and I think the replacement of Earl Thomas on the back end over an Eric Weddle, again, he was kind of like having a coach on the field, but let's not kid ourselves. He had kind of lost his speed, and he really wasn't tackling very well on the back end. So we've upgraded there. We're better at corner. I mean, really the only hole that I think that we have is pass rush. But again, I think that's scheme more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we still have Wink, right? So
Yeah.
Mr. Wink is probably one of the most important pieces for us. And I think, yes, we lost Suggs. So I had a conversation about this last week. For those who haven't seen it, it was entertaining. We had a Steelers, a Bengals, and a Cleveland podcaster, and it was fun. It was entertaining. But I told them, like, if 55 was here, you probably wouldn't be like making this big deal out of it. And I was like, yes, Suggs, he was a staple of this organization. So was Lewis. But at the end of the day, Suggs he became another guy on the field when production was, his production has diminished. And Zadarius Smith, although he played great, I feel like every other year we have another Zadarius Smith, right? Who knows if Tim Williams will be that guy this year? Bowser. Every other year we get one of these guys that ends up leaving, doesn't do much wherever he leaves, right? So I said, like, you guys need to show. Because all these losses that you are encountering, I feel like we have a replacement already. Yes, I think the pass rusher, it is a little concerning. My hope is because our secondary works so good, the secondary gives you that extra second that pass rusher can get there. And I think that's why Wink plays so much man, to help that pass rusher get home. Plus, those blitzes are a thing of beauty. Any other thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, I'm ready to see those exotic blitzes.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I seen this question a lot around here is left guard. Who do you guys think is gonna start at left guard? Harbaugh said today, like, I already know who's gonna start.
Jane Worst.
So you're going with Jane Worst.
Jane Worst, unfortunately.
So you don't think Powers or Bozeman?
I mean, I don't think they. I always say, I would love if we had Ben Powers or Bradley Bozeman starting, because I would rather have the young guys out there struggling rather than a veteran like Jane Worst struggling, which he does, So, but I mean, knowing Harbaugh, he doesn't like to play the young guys, at least not early on in the season. But I think potentially what we could see later on in the season is like the Orlando Brown Jr. thing that we did last year, where he came in towards the middle of the season. I would like to see that, but yeah, unfortunately, I think he's going to throw old Worst out there.
You know what? Yeah, I completely agree with you 1,000%. That's what the Ravens have been doing for so long. Especially like even you go right back to last year, Orlando Brown looked really good in preseason. He should have been the starter from jump, but they still had Hurst as the starter at right tackle last year. But Eric DeCosta has been doing some crazy stuff, some unconventional Ravens stuff. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that they start Ben Powers right there at left guard week 1 against the Dolphins, right? Because he just seems to be doing it a different way. Like even like every day we've been getting like something new and something just wild. Like even today with them, first they put Kenneth Dixon on injured reserve, and then they finally cut the cord. Yeah. And that was right. Crazy. Mm-hmm. That was crazy. I don't know if I ever saw this team really cutting the cord with Kenneth Dixon, simply because of just how they've treated his scenario. So with the way that Eric DeCosta has been moving this offseason, I'm gonna say they go young. Like they went young at wide receiver, obviously young at quarterback, running back. They're pretty young too, because Mark Ingram is the oldest guy. He's 29, but the other guy is super young. So I'm gonna say they go young on the offensive line and start Ben Powers.
Yeah, I think Hurst going to start off, but by week 6, 7, 8, it'll be Powers. And once he gets in there, I don't think he's going to give it up unless he gets hurt, which I pray he doesn't. But even if he starts week 1, like Ian Raven said, I think he's not going to get that spot up. Just knowing the type of pedigree he comes from and watching him play in college, he'll probably get overpowered by some guys, but technique wise, he's pretty darn sound. And once he gets his man body, so to speak, that'll probably come in later on in the year 2 after a year of all season with the Ravens. He'll be heck to deal with. You saw I kept that clean.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think that Hurst is just kind of the go-to guy at this point, just because of the experience. I do think Powers is the future there at left guard, potentially even right guard when Marshall Yanda decides to hang it up, whenever that may be. And I think another wild card you got to keep an eye on is Macari. Macari's played really, really well. Another undrafted guy that could fit in there in that left guard role, not to start the year, but maybe a few weeks down the road, similar to, like you said, to that Orlando Brown type situation, because he impressed everybody in camp, and including me. I had no idea who the guy even was when I looked at the roster names, but then, I mean, he handled the position pretty strongly.
Yeah, I think my thoughts is similar to Raven. To be honest, like, who's Miami's big D-line guy?
Nobody.
They're fairly weak on the D-line. It's a good team. Again, preseason game number 5. It's a good time to start Ben Powers. And then you go to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals had good ends, right? Chandler, and then Suggs knows this team, so I'm expecting Suggs is coming hype and want to have a good game. Internally, they're okay. And then you go to the Chiefs and the Browns, and that's a big test when you go to the Browns. And shout out to Point Gentry, I know he's in the chat. So I feel like this is a good time to just put there Ben Powers, let him try, and then again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Miami, but a lesser opponent, especially in the D-line side, Ben Powers, it's a game that even with mistake you should win. So it's a good game for him to learn. I would have pushed, and I'm hoping it is from Ben Powers. And if Ben Powers is the starter, think about our line is constructed basically all rookie year guys. You have Stanley, Powers, Skura, not my favorite, and Yanda and Zeus Jr. That's a very young line that if they can grow together, hey, that's again goes back to the wide receivers. A lot of great potential, and if they form and become a solid players, you have your future set. This team is basically on the offensive side growing together in all facets of the game.
Oh, we still need Yanda's replacement, but yeah, I agree.
But that's just one. Look how many teams in the league are looking for 2, 3, 4 linemen. Look what the Texans just did. They were so desperate that they went in Tunsil, which is, I feel like he's below Stanley, but still good lineman, and said, "I'll give you 2 first and a second round."
Hold up. I can't let you get away with that slander.
So you don't. I know he's your boy. I know he's your boy.
I don't have no ties to him. I just
Ole Miss.
I hate Ole Miss. Let me mistake. But Tunsil is a pretty darn good tackle. I say he's top 5 tackles in the league.
Ooh.
Tunsil can ball. Don't his weed situation and whatnot on draft day. Don't let that fool you. He was expected to be the number 1 tackle for a reason.
Yeah, Coach,
it took him a minute to get on.
I'm not trying to say that he's not good or great. I'm just saying I think let's for me, let's say that he's equal as Stanley. My point is, even Stanley, even if somebody would call in the Ravens, I would have been shocked that somebody is willing to pay 2 firsts and a second, because again the line play in the league is bad. There's very few good linemen out there. So if you can have Zeus and Stanley keep developing, I think Stanley is really good, and Zeus, if he can just clean a couple of things that he has, right? Again, he was the first year, so I'm expecting him to grow. And if Power becomes a very solid guard, that's 3 out of the 5. Skura, I know, Coach, I saw your videos before. I know you're big, you're higher in Skura than I am. But even if it is Bozeman, right, one of the two young guys as your center, now you're only looking for one out of the 5, and it's a guard, which is usually easier, not easier than finding a tackle.
You can take a tackle and make him a guard.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So that's encouraging, and I'm hoping. So I'm going. My vote is on Ben Powers, and I'm hoping Ben Powers is the starter.
Now, to rebuttal what I said about Skura, I didn't think he was great. I just at the time I made that video, I didn't think he was the problem. I thought the problem was beside him at left guard, and that video was simply to say we're dogging Skura, but the problem is being masked because he's trying to help the left guard. He was kind of doing things that a center shouldn't have to do to help out a left guard.
Agreed.
That's what that was. And Skura's not the greatest, but at that time I made that video, he was definitely not the issue with our run game and pass pro and whatnot.
Yeah, I think Skura, for all my criticism of Skura, he actually ranked higher than Jensen in PFF. So for whatever that's worth, and I like Jensen. I wouldn't pay him the money he got, but I like Jensen. So yeah, we'll see. I think our line has a lot of potential. I think it's good, can be great, and Lamar obviously helps them a lot. So 2 more things. Lamar Jackson. What is your expectation of Lamar Jackson this year?
I think the first game when he goes against Miami, I really think he's gonna go off, man. I think he's gonna go off because I feel like this Ravens team. I mean, you can hear it in Harbaugh's interviews. Just the way that he speaks about, he even uses the word haters to address people about Lamar Jackson. You can tell that they're just ready, man. They're ready to get the season underway. They held Lamar back, and I'm sure Lamar's frustrated too that he had to be held back, couldn't really do his thing, even though he did do his thing for that one play. But he couldn't really let loose. So after a full off season, knowing that he's the guy, a full off season incorporating that offense, a full off season of just knowing that he's a starting quarterback and him getting acclimated with the new weapons and whatnot, I think they really gonna put it on Miami, man. I think they are gonna be super aggressive. I think it's almost gonna be sort of Saints like. Maybe not with how great the Saints offense is, but just how with the Saints, they are a team sort of like Saints Patriots do it a lot too, where how they put it on you, man. They put it on you. They keep on scoring points, and they really make you they make you mad really with how much they score points on you. Yeah. So I really think that they're gonna start off really hot against Miami, and really throughout the season just try to really shut people up and make people eat their words, man.
Okay. Fred?
Yeah, I mean, how do you follow that up? I think he's dead on. That all the criticism and everything that he takes daily for just being a running back that so happens to play quarterback. I think he's wanting to show everybody that he can throw the ball too. It might not be the prettiest ball, but ask Peyton Manning how that worked out for him as well. So look, there's a lot to like about Lamar. There's a lot to like about this offense as a whole and how this team was built. I mean, this team, they obviously went after a specific type of player building around speed with the Justice Hill and Miles Boykin and Hollywood Brown. All these things are going to do nothing but complement Lamar and the style of quarterback that he is, get guys out in open space to be able to make plays. Because these guys, I mean, if that's what you're going to do is treat Lamar as a running back, well, then what are you going to do? Are you going to load the box to stop him? Well, then he's just going to take it, over top of the line and get somebody out in space who's going to, all he's got to do is beat 1 or 2 guys, and it's a house call. So I'm excited about what this offense can do, and I think the Dolphins are in for a rude awakening.
Hell yeah. Coach?
Homecoming, probably going to be up to 1,000 people there to cheer for Lamar. He's not going to disappoint them.
Oh, it'll be more.
He's not going to disappoint them. Boynton Beach is going to be in the house. I think that's right. Is that right? Boynton Beach?
Everywhere. Boynton Beach, Deerfield,
yeah. Pompano, yeah.
Just him being from Florida, it's gonna be crazy, man. He gonna show out, man.
More
it's gonna be a Ravens home game.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, noobs?
No, I mean, like the guy said, I think this offense has a lot of potential. I've talked about it this whole offseason. I think this offense has the potential to be one of the most exciting offenses in the league. Just if you look at the speed, if you look at the weapons we have, it has the potential to really be super exciting. And it helps that you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who is such an amazing runner of the football. And if he can just get a little bit better as a thrower, he's going to light the league up, man. And the main thing I love about Lamar is that he's a winner. You know, we saw last year, he just had. I always talk about these quarterbacks needing to have that intangible thing, just that it factor, and Lamar has it. Like, you can just tell immediately when you watch him play.
And that was one of our biggest frustrations for how long with Joe, was just like the approach and everybody giving him crap for sitting on the bench and not really taking the game seriously and all that stuff. To your point, man, Lamar just seems to get it, the whole picture. There's just so much to like about him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the way he does the little thing with the kids when he comes out of the castle. That he don't have to do that, but he does. And that those little things like that make him an extremely likable guy.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I would say with Lamar, I think Lamar in this offense is going to be a top 10 offense in the league. I think this team obviously goes as far, and this is true for most teams, as far as the quarterbacks go. And I think Lamar, to Fred's and Raven's point, how are you going to play this guy? Because I've seen a big step up from last year on his throwing ability, although in the preseason, but still. So everything I hear, and again, I was last week with this debate, is, we're going to do what the Chargers did. We're going to do what the Chargers did. But first of all, not every team has a Chargers personnel. The Chargers personnel is really good. They're fast. Their secondary is really good, one of the top in the league. But also, now, Lamar, 1 year in...
Sunday, turn up your mic. They're telling you to turn up your mic.
Sorry. So this team, this Lamar, 1 year into this defense or into this offense, they're gonna allow him. They're gonna open that playbook for him to do more. It's not gonna be like the playoff game. The playoff game for me, the biggest frustration was nothing was working, and we kept doing the same thing. I think Roman is gonna change it up, and he's gonna make adjustment, and he's gonna make sure Lamar uses his talent. So I do agree that he's not gonna run as much, meaning there's not gonna be as many design runs for him, which is what I want. What I really want is for him to run in a passing situation. Everybody's covered. There's open field. That's when he's gonna be special.
Yep, I agree with that. That's where I think most of his rushing yards should come from, on passes, on call passes.
I agree. So, couple more things will be the running back situation. What do you guys think? Do you guys like our running back? Our committee, our guys. What is your expectation with Ingram and Hill and Gus? What is your expectation, guys?
I think between all three running backs and the yardage that Lamar's going to get, you can look for us to have 2,300 to 2,500 yards rushing as a team.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely. I do like the committee back there at the running back position. Mark Ingram obviously is your number one guy, your most proven guy. But he's obviously not the only guy. Gus Edwards, with him losing weight, he's still powerful. I don't know. We'll see if he is as powerful as he was last year. But he still got some power. But he added a nice little burst to it too. So that'll help his game a lot and just help the Ravens game that much more too. Because Gus, that was his biggest problem last year, and was that he would get in the open field, but he always get hawked down.
Right.
He would get caught from behind. So now when he added just that much more speed, and if he can have a similar game to what he had last year, then that's gonna bode well for the Ravens. And then of course Justice Hill, he has deceptive power. I had no idea that this dude, I knew he was fast, but didn't know he was as strong as he is. So we got an exciting group, man. A real exciting group.
Yeah, I think you had brought up earlier about the comparison to the Saints offense, and I think Ingram could be in a similar role that he was there in New Orleans. When we get later into the season, we could see a 1-2 punch of Ingram and Hill, that Ingram and Kamara style like 1-2 combo there, and I think Gus Edwards just adds to that. I do think that if there's any strength of this team offensively that's really going to carry the load for this offense, it's definitely starts with the running game, because Lamar obviously is the wild card at any time to take off. And then the three backs that they have on their active roster, I mean, you can't account for for just one particular guy. You take one down off, and any of these three can beat you.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'll get back to the running backs, but real quick, I just saw something in the chat that I wanted to bring up. I'm not for this Sam Cook slander, man. I got to be honest with you guys. Sam Cook is we need to appreciate Sam Cook, man. Not only is he one of the best punters in the league, I would argue he's the best holder in the league as well. Because I'm not going to say he made Justin Tucker, because Justin Tucker is amazing, but let's look at what happened to Vedvik. Now he can't make a single field goal, but when he was with us, you had Cook holding the ball there perfectly for him, making every single ball.
But I thought Vedvik went to our minor league system.
Yeah, he did.
Good. Well, like what you did.
Oh, the Jets, huh?
Yes, sir.
Good point.
So, Noobs, what are your thoughts on the running back situation?
But yeah, anyway, going back to the running backs. Yeah, I mean, you guys said it. It's an exciting stable of running backs to have. And you guys know I hate the whole Lamar Jackson is a running back meme, as I'm sure we're all tired of hearing it. Yeah. But the fact that you also have a quarterback that's such an amazing runner is going to be very helpful to our running game. Not only do you have a Mark Ingram who's going to be the workhorse for us, you also have a change of pace back like a Justice Hill, who is just so speedy, so elusive, so quick. He was impressive to me, man, in preseason. I was amazed by what this kid can do. And even Gus Edwards, don't sleep on Gus Edwards, man. I know that he's probably not going to, he's not going to get as much touches probably, but he's still, what I love about Gus Edwards is that he always falls forward. So, we got a good running game, man. I think we do have the potential to be top in the league, and I think we should, honestly.
So I agree with you guys. I think, again, goes back with my whole premises that our offense has speed and has layers and can be dynamic. And sometimes you have, this is the catching back, so they're not gonna run. This guy is the running between the tackles, so no stretch for him. No, you cannot say that about Gus. You cannot say that about Ingram. You cannot say that about Hill. I actually thought Hill was just going to be the catching guy. No, he runs well between the tackles. He's fast. And like Ingram even said, I didn't know this dude can be powerful. I thought that he was just going to be down as soon as somebody tackled him. No, and he's willing to just run hard. I like what I saw from him. I was pleasantly surprised. Again, I knew about his speed, not necessarily about the power. And so here, Sang brought up, I don't know if you guys saw it, but what is you guys' thoughts about the people that booed Lamar Jackson in that playoff game? And let me start with saying that I thought the fan base was frustrated. I didn't like the fact that anybody booed, because I wanted to encourage my team to come back, not boo them to get them discouraged. But I think, because a lot of people were booing around me, and they were booing the fact that they were doing the same thing. And they didn't open that playbook. And one of the guys that was booing next to me, he said, because I said, dude, he's a rookie. We need to give him confidence. He's like, well, if they're not going to open, and I actually agree with his statement, if they're not going to open the book for him, just put Flacco. And he was right to that point. I was frustrated that they didn't open the book for him, because what we were doing wasn't working. So that being said, I think, and this is just my opinion, the fans weren't necessarily booing Lamar; they were booing the situation. But I want to know your thoughts.
I before I go to that, I want to say this about those running backs. I hope the OC does not put the guys in certain situations. And what I'm saying that is because Last year, Gus will be our split zone guy. Kenny Dixon will be our counter type guy, and who was 88? Montgomery would be like the outside zone guy.
Yep.
And so just from me watching the little taste film I watch of the team, I'm sure other teams kind of picked up on that, and which is probably what led to that what happened in with San Diego. But with those three guys we got now, I don't think that'll be the problem. I hope the OC realizes that also. Being from I'm a peon myself. I ain't trying to tell him how to do his job, but I did pick that out. And as far as the booing, I think it was just the fact that they didn't like Lamar. The people booing wanted Joe to stay in and were Joe diehards, and they just didn't, like the fact that Lamar was in there. We were losing. I think they were waiting on that to happen. He played well against the Chiefs, so you couldn't really boo him that because we probably should have won that game. But that was the first game he really just stunk it up early. And they were waiting on that to kind of turn on him and say, hey, put Joe back in. But they do need to open playbook up, though.
That was exactly going to be my point, is I think that was all the Flacco fans that are sitting in there every week that I hear rumbling and waiting for their turn to just kind of, I told you so. He was going to suck at some point, and I think that's what it was. You had that part of the crowd, and then I think a lot of the other boos from the more educated fans were more going after Morningwig than anybody else.
Yeah.
Raven?
It was a pretty it was a frustrating game, like Sonny said. Yeah, they just kept doing the same thing over and over, regardless even though it wasn't working. But as far as the booing, yeah, it was definitely a mix of people. From the people that I was sitting next to, they were actually booing Lamar. They weren't booing the play calling. They were booing Lamar. The one guy, I remember, he just kept saying, "Oh, this guy can't throw. He can't throw." They need to put Flacco in, and I mean, you can understand their frustration. Again, I'm glad the way that Hobbs handled it. I'm glad they did not make the switch, because you go with the guy that got you there, man.
Right.
Now Flacco obviously when he was quarterback, the team won 4 games, but they also lost 5, and toward the end, with his last game as a starting quarterback, they look really bad. They look dead. The team had absolutely no life whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But with the fans that were booing and stuff, you understand that fans are fans. It was the heat of the moment. This is playoffs. Like, this is not. It wasn't a regular game. Wasn't a preseason game. Wasn't a regular season game where you'd be like, okay, we lost. Well, okay, we'll come back next week. No, that was it. It was literally win or go home. Right. Go next week for the loser. So you got to understand their frustration, but at the same time, like Fred was just saying, there were and still are, of course, plenty of those fans that have
on Facebook.
Yeah, that had that wait and see approach. That I told you he sucked. I told you he was gonna mess up. I told you he wasn't gonna do good. I told you he was sorry. I told you this and that. And they're gonna be waiting for that all season long.
Nope.
Lindsay. So, Lamar, I mean, I can understand the frustration of Ravens fans, because it was the first time we had been back to the playoffs since 2014. So it was about 4 years. So I get it, and we already know we have this Joe Flacco. We know how he performs in the playoffs. But who's to say if we actually did go ahead and bench Lamar for Flacco, which, looking back on it, I'm happy we didn't. I'm actually very happy with Harbaugh's decision to keep him in there. If we did go back to Flacco, what happens if Flacco was just stinking it up? Then what are the fans going to do?
Right. Then
it's like, okay, we were just, I don't know. I think it was a Marty situation. Shout out to Marty Morningweg. It was bad play calling from the jump. He didn't make adjustments. It's a sad game to look back on for sure. But I'm glad that Lamar did get that experience, so he can see, okay, now I have some playoff experience under my belt, and he's still only 22 years old. So I'm sure we got plenty more to come.
And just so you fans out there don't get it the wrong way, none of us are Flacco haters by any means.
No,
all of us supported the guy when he was here, so had nothing to do with that. More so, it was you had a 22-year-old quarterback out there that you pull him in the first time that he's struggled, and all that does is mess with this kid's psyche. And if you are already planning on having this kid be the future of your organization, you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about this, guys. In that game, the Chargers got a lot of heat on the quarterback. So it's correct, right?
Yep.
Think if that was Joe back there.
Right.
At least Lamar had the opportunity to maybe make a guy miss and turn a sack into a 2 or 3 yard gain. Joe just gonna have to stand there.
Yep.
And I think it would have been worse because the left guard and center didn't play the greatest down the stretch as far as pass pro, and Lamar was able to get out of the pocket and do some things. But if Joe's just standing there, which was part of the problem, I think it's even worse because he can't move like Lamar can. At least you got an agile guy that can escape the pocket. When a guy gets straight bull rushed or misses an assignment, at least can get out the pocket and throw it away. A lot of times Joe stands there and gets sacked, and then we start looking at those sack fumbles.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you guys. I think yeah, like Fred said, nobody here's a Flacco hater. Nobody here's a Flacco hater, and I wish Flacco the best. But Lamar was the future, and it makes sense to keep him up. And somebody said like the switch should have been Marty, and I would have loved that. Like, Marty, you're out. Greg, you call in second half. I would have taken that.
That's what I would have gone for. Yeah.
That would have made a statement.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to finish the stream, since we've been here for an hour and 20 minutes, I want to know, what are your guys' expectations for this year's Ravens team? What are you guys are hoping? Do you guys see them in the playoff? If they are in the playoffs, how far are they gonna go? So, Fred, you want to get us started with that one?
Sure. I think that this team, the sky's the limit. Obviously, a lot is going to depend on health, right? Everybody's got to stay healthy. We're always one injury away from the season completely changing. But I think if everything stays intact and the plan is, to move forward with what we've got, I think this team will be in the thick of things. They'll be in the hunt for the wild card and for an AFC North championship again. I ultimately think that we have a much more challenging schedule this year than we did last year. But I think we're going to also be a much more improved offensive team. So I like our chances. I think we end up going like 10-6 and fighting for that AFC North crown.
So you have us in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay. And
one way or the other, whether it's wild card or division game, I think we're in the playoffs for sure.
And in the playoffs, how far do you have us going?
I can see us going to the AFC Championship against.
All right.
I think I see us being there against Kansas City. And Kansas City for me is dangerous. I know we played them great last year, considering in Kansas City with the Marty Morningwig led offense. Like, there's a lot to still be positive and think that we're going to be better this year for sure. But it's another year that Mahomes has to improve as well. So I think our limit for me is AFC Championship.
Okay, Raven.
I think they can get to the playoff. I don't think they'll take the division this year. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they prove me wrong. But I think they'll get to the playoffs, and I think they'll win their first playoff game. They win the wild card playoff game, so that Lamar can sort of get that under his belt. And then I think they will get exited out of the playoffs after that. Again, hopefully I'm wrong, but it'll be. I see this as just a year to build from, and hopefully they can go all the way to the top with their building. But if they don't if them not reaching the Super Bowl, for me, it wouldn't be a failed season to me. Obviously you want the Super Bowl and that's the ultimate goal. But if they don't reach the Super Bowl, then I won't consider this season a failure. It obviously depends on how they do too overall, but. Because I went into this year after last year. I went into this season thinking that this was really gonna be a rebuild year. I thought they were gonna be rebuilding for like the next 2 years, especially with Eric DeCosta taking over. But Eric DeCosta showed with the way that he's been running the team that no, I don't really feel like rebuilding. I still want to win now and still get young at the same time. And both are possible. Both are really possible. So I just want to see them start to build their foundation and really determine what this new era of the Ravens is going to be this year.
Cool. Noobs?
Yeah, I mean, like I've always said, man, this team has so much potential. I truly do believe. I think this could be a type of team that if everything goes right, if everything goes well, if every rookie plays how they're expected to play, if every player that's meant to step up steps up, this could be like a 12-4, 13-3 team. I know that's a little high, but I could also see things not going right, and we could be a 7-9 team. So it's just I'm kind of in the middle. I would like to say that we get 10 wins. I think that's reasonable. I think that's realistic. I'm not sure if we're going to win the division because I know the Browns, as much hype as they do get, and I do think they are a little bit overhyped if we're going to, get on that level. But I still think they're a good team. Just looking at them they have a good roster, so you're expecting them to win at least 10 games. It would be a disappointment if they don't win 10 games. So then even the Steelers are still going to be good. I still think they're going to have a good record this year. So, but I do have a lot of faith in this team. I think we're just going to go as Lamar goes, and I think he can take us far. He is definitely capable of taking us far. I could see this team being a playoff team. Like I said, it's just Lamar's a winner, man, and I think we're gonna surprise some people.
Okay, Coach.
Successful season for us would be, in my opinion, would be winning a playoff game. I'm not really sure of our record, but getting into the playoffs and actually winning the playoff game would, to me, that would be a successful season. But I also think that would catapult us on a run to the AFC Championship game.
Right.
Depending on who and where it is, I don't know if we win it or not. But ceiling-wise for us, I think, is because we're young, 11 wins would be like max wins for us because we're going to have young mistakes because we're so young at positions. And then once we really figure out left guard, that's when I think we're going to take off. Once we figure out left guard and say, hey, it's your job, let's go, which I think is going to be Powers, I think we're going to take off then. Excuse me. But I think 11-6 would be our ceiling, but anything lower than that would be 9 and what was that, 9-7?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we're in that range, definitely, because we do have a tough stretch. I think it's like week 3 through 6 or 3 through 7 or something like that. But after that, we before that and after that, we should be pretty darn good with our matchups.
I agree with Coach completely. 9-7 to 11-5 is what I see in this range. I actually think we're gonna be 11-5. So last year we won 10 games. So my hope is, we up one game. I think this team is poised to be good. Also with Nubo's comment, this team goes as far as Lamar can take them. So my expectation is Lamar takes that next step. Also agreeing with Fred, I think their ceiling is the AFC Championship. I don't think if we're in the Super Bowl, dude, I might go crazy. But right. I think AFC North or AFC Championship is their ceiling. I think they probably win a playoff game for sure, but that second game will be tough. But this team is good. I think this team can make a lot of noise. I'm still not sure how to feel about that home and away schedule, like 1-1. I feel like you want to have a couple of stretches at home, and but whatever. It could be worse, I guess. But I think this team is good, and they are poised to be a dangerous team in the AFC North, and they're sleeping on us. Right now, if you check most experts, they have the Browns, the Steelers, and then the Ravens. So I think we are going to make some noise, and we're going to surprise a lot of people. Not necessarily me, because I do think the Ravens are good, and they're going to compete for the division, but a lot of people. Anyway, guys, we're going to be here for almost an hour and a half. So we're going to start closing the live stream. So I'm going to go start with Fred. Fred, where they can find you?
Every Tuesday night, I do a live stream on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. It's Birdland BS. You can find us on Twitter at Birdland BS. Follow me at Fred BLBS. Follow my co-host at Scott BLBS. We try to interact as much as we can on social media, but with life and everything, it gets to be kind of tough. But you can count on us every Tuesday night. We do the live stream. We cover the Ravens, the Orioles, the Terps, and more. So come be a part of the show, man. We appreciate you guys tuning in every week.
That Terps, man, 79-0. Woo!
I was there for that, man. It was incredible. I mean, I don't care. I know it was Howard and whatnot, but I don't care if it was a bunch of high schoolers. You beat them 79-0. It was an impressive game.
Anyway, and Raven, team keep it clean.
Team keep it clean. Shout out to Sonny for having us all on
Yeah.
here, man. This is super cool as it always is. We got to do more of these. And shout out to my guy, What's the B Word 52. We got to have him on here as well, man. Another Ravens YouTuber. But appreciate you having me on. Appreciate all y'all watching. Appreciate all y'all in the chat section and the comment section, as always. And Ravens got to run it up now, man. It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Noobs.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Nubo, Instagram, YouTube, Joe Nubo, NF Podcast is my Twitter handle, and that is based off of the NF Podcast that Sonny and I do every Wednesday, usually Wednesday or Thursday. That's going to continue this week as well. It streams live on my channel. I also stream live on Sportscaster now, so if you guys want to check that out. And just make sure you subscribe to everybody on here, guys. There's some good content. We all share our different takes and opinions, and we all do a little something different. So definitely subscribe to every single guy here in this stream tonight.
Coach.
YouTube, I appreciate you. On Twitter, it's Coach Evans9. On YouTube and Instagram, it's Sip the Tally Films. I'll be coming at you guys 2 to 3 times a week with film breakdown after the games, and whatnot. And as you can see, I broke the green screen back out because it's that time of year. And I just want to say thank you guys for pushing me to 1,700 doing this stream. And we also need to make sure we get Sonny to 500. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you recommend this to somebody that that's not like you have a YouTube account, but they can watch YouTube and subscribe and whatnot. So just get this thing going because the season's upon us and it's really go time.
Yep.
And thank you guys. Thank you for everybody that's been in the chat. We have around 70 people, so it's been awesome. And all the links are down below for the channels from Rating Raven, Joe Nubo, Coach, M, Burlap BS. And like Noobs was saying, it's awesome, right? We all have our different takes. I watch for the most part most of their videos. Everybody has awesome content. So, guys, please like, subscribe, share the video. Help me get to 500. I'm trying to get to 1,000, but my first goal is 500. I'm almost there. And thank you. And hey, guys, everybody here is hyped for the season. So, Raven, let's go get it. Thank you for joining the live stream, guys. We out.
Peace.
Peace.
Hey, guys.